have these guys, like a Jeffrey Epstein type guy, who works with the elite of the elite clientele. It's all movie stars, big-time politicians, world leaders, scientists, Nobel Prize winners, and they all meet together and have fascinating conversations and cocktails, and there's beautiful girls everywhere. Of course. What a great idea. Right. And if you're naive and you don't understand honeypots.
Here's the quote from Maria Farmer, who was one of the accusers from what was inside the house in New York.
Okay, she said, there were monitors inside this cabinet. I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, bed, toilet. She said, visibly spooked. Like, I'm never going to use the restroom here and I'm never going to sleep here. You know what I mean? It was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Maria Farmer was the one who worked at Epstein's office in New York, I think.
And this was the house, Jamie?
Yeah, I was looking up stuff on the house. That was like what they found.
I wonder if the house still has fucking cameras in it somewhere that they haven't found yet.
They definitely, don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to scan the shit out of that house. You'd have to take the walls apart. There's probably listening devices inside the walls. Like, who knows? If this was like really an intelligence operation. Yeah, they probably had that house fully.
Joe Rogan just stumbled onto something seriously disturbing about Diddy's case. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. What looks like one man going down might actually be connected to something way bigger. And what Rogan said out loud on his podcast may have been a bold move he wasn't supposed to make. In this video, we're breaking down the entire power ladder, starting with Diddy and working all the way up to the names that usually stay protected and untouched. At the very top, you're going to see who the real power players are, why certain names never get pressed, no matter what comes out, and how that silence stays locked tight. Joe Rogan may have stepped over an invisible line by even talking about this publicly, and that alone raised eyebrows everywhere. While Diddy sits in a cell right now waiting for trial, most people assume the story stops there. End of discussion, right? But Joe Rogan's recent podcast convo revealed something nobody was prepared for. And honestly, it's unsettling when you really think about it. The Entertainment Power Network runs way deeper than headlines and viral clips, reaching into places most people never question. And that's exactly what we're about to expose. Trust me, this part is about to seriously mess with your head.
In jail for the rest of his life. I think he's probably going to get
Think he's insane, though?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters. I mean, it's a lot of it is.
But then it's just another Epstein. It's another Ghislaine Maxwell, where somebody gets indicted and nobody else indicted for trafficking kids to
to no one. Right. We're like, what is the next crazy thing that's going to explode in the news? Is Bill Clinton's going to have an OnlyFans? Like, what is going to happen? What is the next thing that's going to make us all go, what the f? Like, what the f is going on?
It's coming.
Like, how many guys were on video saying, ain't no party like a Diddy party? How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron?
Yeah, how Ashton Kutcher, all these people. Like, you guys all went, you didn't see nothing.
Before we even get into who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes, you have to understand what Diddy is accused of doing. Because without this context, nothing else is going to add up. Right now, Diddy is sitting in jail after being arrested and indicted on extremely serious charges. And you already know this situation isn't light at all. Federal prosecutors claim he used his status, money, and influence to put people into disturbing and exploitative situations, and this is where things take a dark turn fast. The so-called freak-offs were allegedly private gatherings where people were secretly recorded without their knowledge, with claims that substances were involved to keep control over the situation. Imagine thinking you're just at a party, living your life while someone is quietly collecting footage to use later as leverage. Over 120 individuals have reportedly come forward with allegations connected to this case, and that alone should tell you how deep this runs. Some claims also involve people who were very young at the time, which makes the entire situation even more disturbing and serious. That's the weight of what we're talking about here. 50 Cent's recent Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, poured even more light on the chaos, and he didn't hold back at all. But here's what most people missed, and this is where everything shifts. Diddy wasn't moving alone, and he definitely wasn't the one sitting at the very top. During one of his podcast episodes, Joe Rogan started connecting dots that most people were way too scared to even mention out loud. That's when he brought up Jeffrey Epstein, and suddenly the parallels between those situations became way too loud to ignore. The tone shifted instantly and the conversation got heavy real fast. One of Rogan's guests straight up asked, "Is he gonna sing? Like, is he about to start naming everyone else involved?" And right there, you could almost see Rogan's mind lock in. He pointed out something that should honestly make everyone uneasy. There's a pattern here that keeps repeating. Someone gets indicted for trafficking, but somehow no one else ever falls with them. Think about it. Epstein was convicted of trafficking, but according to official records, to who exactly? Then Ghislaine Maxwell gets convicted for trafficking too. And again, somehow there's no clear answer. Does that actually make sense to anyone? Because it doesn't add up at all. The pattern couldn't be clear. The people sitting at the very top always find a way to stay untouched. It's like watching the same movie play on repeat and everyone pretends they don't see it. Then Rogan started naming names like LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher, and other major celebrities who openly talked about attending Diddy's parties years ago. Remember those ain't no party like a Diddy party moments? Rogan's question hit way different though. He asked, "You all went and you didn't see nothing." And that silence right there speaks volumes. To a lot of people, it suggests either awareness or involvement. And in situations like this, there's no comfortable middle ground. Now, we gotta talk about the so-called emperor in this whole setup. Because if Diddy was running his own small kingdom, then Lucian Grange is the one people say sits above it all, pulling strings quietly from the shadows. Grange is the CEO of Universal Music Group, the parent company connected to nearly every major label Diddy ever did business with. And his level of influence is on a whole different scale.
These words would come out my mouth, but Candace Owens is onto something, and that did not feel comfortable at all. So Candace says the reason mainstream news is not picking up this lawsuit, is not paying attention to Diddy at all, is because of this man right here, Lucian Grange. He is one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and music. And he been up in Diddy's room. So this man right here is Sir Lucian Charles Grange. He's been the CEO of Universal Music Group since 2010, so you know he done seen some shit. So I had to go to the damn documents. I had to see if this man was actually named, and he is. As you can see, it says Lucian Charles Grange, and it also says Universal Music Group. On top of that, it says Ethiopia. I cannot fuck up her last name. I refuse to. But she was also a big person in Universal Music Group. And then Christina Coramham, Lord forgive. But she was like Diddy's second.
Here's where things start sounding wild. In the Lil Rod lawsuit, Grange was actually named, and that's when eyebrows really went up. The theory laid out claims that major labels don't just distribute music, they allegedly provide the infrastructure that lets powerful figures operate unchecked. According to the filings, these companies aren't just about hits and charts. They're accused of acting like shields, and the paperwork behind this is heavy. The lawsuit claims Grange wasn't just aware of certain gatherings, but that he attended multiple events at Diddy's Los Angeles home. It also alleges that questionable environments existed at these parties, and that serious red flags should have been obvious to anyone present. The documents further suggest that substances may have been used to control situations, allegedly through tampered bottles tied to Diddy's own brands, which is shocking on its own. Even Candace Owens called this out publicly, questioning why major outlets stayed silent. She pointed out that Grange's power in music and entertainment is massive, and that influence determines what stories get pushed and what stories disappear. The lawsuit also names other executives tied to Universal, putting even more pressure on the industry's highest level. According to the documents, the claim is that they all knew exactly what was going on. They saw it, they were present, and yet nothing ever got shut down. Why? Because major label CEOs control the money, and they decide which problems are worth managing instead of stopping. When something brings in billions, protecting the machine becomes the priority. And that's what makes this whole thing so ugly. This is also why you're not seeing this story explode on outlets like CNN or Fox News. These power players allegedly shape the narrative, deciding what gets airtime and what stays buried when it comes to Diddy's inner circle. And one name that keeps circling back into the conversation is Jay-Z. These two aren't just industry friends, they've been described as brothers in business. Diddy once said only two people on earth can call him by his real name, Sean, his mother, and Jay-Z, nobody else.
Person.
Oh, go on.
And I call him Sean, that's Jay-Z. We call each other Sean.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody else could call me Sean.
He's the only person who's Sean approved.
There's not a single person that
outside
should be,
of family?
That should be, no, outside of my mother.
Okay,
They should be calling me, they should be calling me Sean.
That alone has people talking. Then there's Jaguar Wright, someone known for saying what others won't. She sat down with Piers Morgan and made explosive claims involving both Jay-Z and Diddy. But here's the wild part. That full episode allegedly vanished almost instantly, wiped and buried online. If there was nothing to hide, why make it nearly impossible to find? During that interview, Wright asked a question people have whispered about for years. How does Jay-Z sit across from Gayle King on national TV and never get pressed about certain industry rumors or connections? She didn't sugarcoat anything either, calling both men monsters and saying their influence crushed the industry for decades. That sparked another big question. Why would Jay-Z's high-profile personal attorney suddenly get involved in Diddy's legal situation? Coincidence? Connection? Or something much bigger happening behind closed doors that the public isn't meant to see? Jay-Z has never publicly addressed any of these whispers, and in today's climate, silence doesn't come off as neutral at all. It looks like a choice, a very deliberate move to say nothing while everything keeps swirling. This is something Joe Rogan talks about often on his podcast. At the highest levels, elites don't deal with their own messes. They hire elite fixers, top-tier lawyers, and crisis teams whose entire job is to make problems quietly disappear. People like Alan Grubman ring a bell? Probably not, and that's exactly how it's designed. He's a heavyweight attorney who's represented everyone from Diddy to Bruce Springsteen. These figures quietly connect the entire industry, operating behind the scenes where no cameras ever go. They guard secrets, draft ironclad NDAs, and make sure stories stay locked away for decades. They sit above the system because they control information, and in this world, information is the real currency. If they decide your story isn't worth telling, trust me, it never sees daylight. When Rogan brings former CIA officer Mike Baker onto the show, the same comparison always comes up. Diddy's alleged freak-offs get compared to Jeffrey Epstein's island operation. The theory isn't that Diddy masterminded everything on his own. The theory is that he was a facilitator, someone positioned to play a specific role. Think about it. If recordings existed, as federal filings claim, who were they really meant for? Who wanted that material? That's where the idea of unseen figures comes in. Powerful names hiding in the background, corporate leaders, political figures, global elites treating these spaces like private playgrounds. There are even claims of massive archives of recordings connected across multiple circles. If that's true, it points to a long-running pressure system built on silence and leverage. Even Elon Musk hinted at this on Rogan's podcast, suggesting there's more happening behind the curtain than the public is ever meant to see. One reason certain political figures get flooded with billionaire support is fear. Straight up fear. Fear that if the wrong person gains power, certain lists start surfacing. We're talking about whispers around the Epstein client list, the alleged Diddy party lists, and names like Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates getting mentioned as people who might not be too comfortable if secrets ever saw daylight.
Epstein, it's good. There's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say, I think you voted for Biden.
I'd like to see a matchup of those, call it the top 100 puppet masters on the Epstein client list.
Do you think there's some overlap?
Strong overlap. Strong overlap.
When are we going to see that list, do you think?
I don't know.
Will that ever come out, do you think?
You know, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes. And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you can sort of, you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes.
When Joe Rogan asked Elon Musk if Reid Hoffman seemed nervous, Elon's response was just one word: yes. And that one word hit hard. This is what people call the facilitator model in action. Figures like Jeffrey Epstein and Sean Combs are theorized to have created protected environments, private spaces where powerful celebrities and politicians could move without public eyes. But here's the catch. Those places weren't just for fun. They were allegedly honeypots, spaces where elites could be observed, recorded, and quietly controlled. Rogan put it bluntly: either this was some form of coordinated intelligence-style setup, or it was one dangerously calculated system designed to compromise everyone involved. Phones away, false comfort, total secrecy, while cameras quietly capture everything. The real question Rogan raised was heavy. Was Diddy working for someone higher up, or did he push too far and lose control? Musk then brought up Jennifer Lopez, not politically, but for credibility reasons. His point was sharp. If people were that close to Diddy for years, where were the warnings? Where were the alarms? J-Lo dated Diddy, attended events, shared that world. So the uncomfortable question came fast. How many people did she warn? The answer floating around is none. And that cracked open a reality a lot of people really don't want to face. Now, if someone was deep in the inner circle and never said a single word, what does that really mean? Either they truly had no idea what was going on, which a lot of people find hard to buy, or they knew something and made a choice to stay silent. And if they stayed quiet, why? Was it fear, loyalty, protecting their own image, or shielding someone even higher up the ladder? These are the questions people should actually be asking. During federal raids on Diddy's properties, investigators reportedly seized an enormous amount of recorded material. We're not talking about a handful of clips, but a massive volume that points to something much bigger. Commentators like Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal have discussed how this kind of material works. Not just leverage, but insurance. A quiet way to keep powerful people in line without ever saying a word. Now, word circulating is that some of this material is being quietly relocated, And that alone has powerful names feeling real nervous. Megyn Kelly made a sharp observation that caught attention. Diddy isn't even facing charges tied to a widely seen hotel incident involving Cassie. If something that public isn't being pushed front and center, what does that say about what stays hidden? The real questions stack up fast. Who has control of the recordings now? What's actually on them? And what would happen if influential figures suddenly had their private moments exposed? Maybe the most unsettling part isn't what's already public. Maybe it's what's still being kept out of sight. When cameras disappear and secrets turn into currency, who's really holding the power? This next part caught a lot of people off guard. In 50 Cent's documentary, viewers noticed very intentional editing choices. During sections discussing Diddy's gatherings, the image of T.D. Jakes appears briefly, and that detail had viewers doing double takes and asking even more questions. A lot of people online swear that wasn't some random edit at all. They believe 50 Cent was sending a message, a coded one maybe, but a message all the same. And when T.D. Jakes was finally confronted about the Diddy allegations, his response only made things messier. Instead of clearly saying, "No, I was never involved," he brushed it off with, "Keep it moving." And that alone raised eyebrows. Then he said something that sent the internet into full meltdown mode. He suggested that even if something like that were true, repentance has the power to cover sins, and then added that he didn't even need to repent for this. To a lot of people, that didn't sound like confidence or innocence at all. It sounded like deflection, sidestepping the question instead of answering it straight up. Jaguar Wright jumped on this immediately. She claimed that if Bishop Jakes was anywhere near Diddy's party circles, it could only be for two reasons: money or access. She described these secret gatherings as leverage zones, places where influence gets built quietly and later used to control people. Former bodyguard Gene Deal raised his own concerns too. Why would a respected religious figure even be associated with environments insiders describe as anything but clean? He also hinted at whispers about recordings, tapes that could eventually surface. And if that happens, he said, the conversation won't be about rumors anymore. It'll be about proof, real and undeniable proof. Some researchers are now mapping this entire situation like a pyramid. And once you see it laid out, it starts making disturbing sense. At the bottom, you've got names like Jay-Z and Beyonce. Powerful figures for sure, but still not the ones sitting at the very top. At that point, you've got the real gatekeepers, the people who control access to fame, money, and survival in the industry. Names like Oprah Winfrey, Clive Davis, and powerful record executives who decide who gets pushed forward and who gets locked out. And sitting above all of that, there's supposedly one hidden name tying the whole system together. This influence doesn't stop at music or Hollywood either. It stretches into politics, tech, and even religious institutions. Comedian Dave Chappelle warned about this years ago, but most people didn't want to hear it. He described the entertainment industry not as a bad deal or a rough business, but as a trap built entirely on control. When people asked why he didn't just move his show to another network, his answer was chilling. He said it would be like running from one plantation to another. Different master, same chains. If someone as successful and powerful as Dave Chappelle felt boxed in by the system, what does that say about everyone else? What does it say about people just trying to survive inside the machine without getting crushed? So after hearing all of this, from Diddy's alleged leverage operation, to the financial gatekeepers at Universal Music Group, from the Jay-Z connections to the Jeffrey Epstein parallels, from T.D. Jakes to the entire power pyramid, what do you think is really going on here? Is this all just coincidence, or are we finally seeing cracks in something way bigger than anyone expected? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you believe is really happening. And if you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.